What's up, guys? This is the Osmo.com Night Shift podcast talking MLB for Tuesday, May 29th. We got a 14-game slate. I'm going to go through each game very quickly because it is a really awesome night for sports with Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals and Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So apologies if I'm a little bit distracted, but I will go through each of these games right now. Just some quick notes on each of them. So let's get into this. Houston and New York. Well, actually, let me talk about Osmo.com. Get to Osmo.com. Check out the premium packages for MLB. We got a lot of great content flowing out there. With that membership, you get access to the Osmo's rankings, his ownership projections, videos, and interviews from Osmo himself. And those are all very well done. And I'm not just saying that because I work for the site. They are really helpful to me. It helps me get better as a player. It'll help you get better as a player, no matter how good you are or think you are. So I know that firsthand. All right, Houston and New York Yankees. We've got Charlie Morton going up against CC Sabathia. Morton has some huge K upside here against the Yankees, kind of like Verlander yesterday. I am worried about the righties a little bit more than the lefties, but Morton is just a phenomenal. Weather isn't great for pitching, but I'm definitely not avoiding him for those reasons. I definitely want some exposure to him. Most times he's pitching. It's sort of a pay up to be contrarian spot. I don't think he's going to be super heavily owned. But I will definitely have some exposure to Morton. Not going with the Yankees bats. Sabathia on the other side. Houston's been one of the best teams in the MLB against left-handed pitching over the last month. They got the second best WRC plus in that span. And they're not really striking out. So kind of what we saw last year. So I don't mind stacking against Sabathia. It's hard not to with how some of the with how well some of these guys are hitting lately, and their prices. Bregman 4,000, Correa 4,400, Gurriel 3,400, even JD Davis for 3,700. I don't mind. Springer leading off for under 5K against the lefty is very appealing. So yeah, Houston bats are definitely in play for me. Probably a top 5 stack for me. Cubs Pirates. Lester going up against Nick Kingham. Lester versus the Pittsburgh bats, I'm just sort of avoiding all the way around. I rarely target lefties against Lester, and most of the good Pittsburgh hitters are lefties. And then you sort of know my stance on him. I mean, it's got to be the perfect spot with the perfect price for me to play Lester at this point. I just don't really think he has elite stuff anymore. So 8,100, I think I'll pass. I think I can find some higher upside elsewhere. Kingham, no interest in him really. I do like some Chicago righties, Contreras and Chris Bryant. Kingham has struggled with some righty power, so I don't mind targeting either of those two, but also really not full stacking against Kingham here. I think he's a pretty good pitcher. So let's go to the next game, Washington, Baltimore. We've got a over 9 total here. Hellickson going up against Dylan Bundy. Hellickson has just been sort of an average pitcher from what I'm seeing. He's striking out a fair amount of righties. Baltimore does chase a lot, and they do strike out a lot against righties, but I don't think I can do it with Hellickson in a good hitting park. Once again, I think I can find upside around this price for with other guys. Some of the guys we'll talk about later. So for that reason, I'm off Hellickson. Got to give my show mention to Manny Machado. He pretty much always deserves a mention. 5,200 at shortstop. I'm fine paying for him. Just a really, really awesome hitter. Dylan Bundy against the Washington bats. Bundy's just been insane the last 3 starts since getting rocked against the Royals. Really bounced back well. The Nationals are not a great matchup, but Bundy is so shut down against righties that I'm willing to use him here, even in a pretty scary matchup. You know, I'm scared of Harper and Matt Adams and Soto to an extent, but I'm assuming that'll lower his ownership. The 4.6 run total for the Nationals will keep his ownership down, and I just can't deny what he's done. So I'll certainly have some exposure to Bundy, one of the many guys I like in this price range on DK. If you're targeting Washington bats, it's the guys I mentioned. Mostly Harper and Soto, but I don't mind Matt Adams as well. But I wouldn't be banking on another Royals-like outburst against Bundy or anything close to that. I think Bundy is a very, very good pitcher. LA and Detroit, that is the Angels versus the Tigers. Tropiano, he's a pretty decent value, I think, tonight. I don't think that's a secret. 7,200 against the Tigers. The secret is out on the Tigers. They are very right-handed heavy. They're not striking out as much as I would think they are. Tropiano's swinging strike rate is solid, and his weakness has been giving up hard hits and fly balls. So not a ton of confidence in Tropiano here, but I think there is some K upside against the Tigers. The Detroit bats I like are Leonis Martin and Nick Castellanos, but I don't know how much I'll end up on them because I don't think I'm in a stack against Tropiano. Fulmer for 6,000 going up against the Angels. I think he's a pretty interesting play at this price. The Angels are striking out a little bit more as of late. I still have them as a top 5 bad matchup for right-handed pitching, but for 6,000 against a guy that's missed a lot of bats against the Mariners and the Twins, two teams that I have respect for against righty pitchers, he is definitely interesting. 36% O-swing percentage on the year is very, very good, but the Angels just don't really chase. I think they have bottom 2 lowest chase rate in the MLB this season, or over the last 30 days. I know that's true, but this season they just aren't really chasing that much. Blue Jays and Red Sox. Marco Estrada going up against Rick Porcello. Estrada has a 5.42 xFIP, 387 WOBA, and 15.2% K percentage against righties this year. Boston's just been lights out against righties. If Mookie Betts is back, even better for the Red Sox. I prefer Betts, JD, and Bogarts, all the righties against Estrada, but no problem with Benintendi, no problem with Devers or Moreland. Those guys are all, Benintendi is priced up, but Moreland and Devers both at price ranges. I'm comfortable playing them, especially in 80-degree weather against a fly ball pitcher in Estrada. Porcello going for the Red Sox. It's hard for me to use him at this price when I think that, again, there's a lot of upside with a couple guys around his price point, so I'll just pass for that reason. I mean, if you prefer Porcello over Snell and Maeda, I mean, I don't agree with that, and Bundy, but I'm not going to fight you on it. Porcello is a pretty decent real-life pitcher, so he is probably pretty safe here against the Blue Jays, who have really, really been struggling. Mets, Braves, Steven Matz, my nemesis, going up against Anibal Sanchez, I believe, although I'm not completely sure if the Braves have confirmed him, but I'll just go with Sanchez for now. I don't know how Steven Matz does it. He doesn't get anyone to swing and miss. He just survives, doesn't get anyone to chase. I still think the strikeout numbers are going to come down. He should have starts where he gets crushed. The Atlanta bats that I like against Matz, kind of sad that it was Ozuna. Acuna is who I was looking for there. I'm kind of sad that Acuna is on the DL because I would really want to play him here against Steven Matz, but I still like Flowers, Albies, and then I don't mind the lefties, Freeman, Markakis, and Inciarte. Matz is pretty bad at holding runners, so Inciarte, leading off lefty-lefty, will be pretty low owned, but if he gets on base, he's got a really good chance to steal a base or two. So I like the Braves stack for sure, one of the top 5 for me tonight. Sanchez against the Mets. Speaking of some of my favorite stacks, these top 4 Mets are in a pretty great spot against Anibal Sanchez, Nimmo Conforto, Asdrubal Cabrera, and Jay Bruce. Just super reasonably priced, way too cheap on DraftKings, all under 4K. They're going to be popular, I think, because it's against Anibal Sanchez, but I think it's a pretty good reason that they will be popular, so no problem with that stack, but probably going to stop it after the top 4. Cardinals, Brewers, Michael Wacha against Zach Davies, and Wacha's had some good results lately, but he's giving up a ton of hard contact for the season, 41.4% to be specific. The Brewers are a super, super dangerous team, so I'm not using Wacha here, especially with those hard contact numbers. I like Yelich, Shaw, Aguilar, Lorenzo Cain, even Ryan Braun. Like, I think a Milwaukee stack is certainly in play. That team total of 4.5 is sort of in the middle of all the teams going today, especially with the Coors slate. So they're not going to get that much attention, but Wacha is getting hit pretty hard, so I like a Brewers stack. Zach Davies against the Cardinals. He's giving up 45.6% hard contact this year against righties, but he's giving up a lot of ground balls, and he's only got a 1.14 whip, so he's not really getting blown up. I think he does have some regression coming. I could certainly see him giving up a home run or two here against the Cardinals, but I don't think I'm full stacking against Davies here, even though I really like this Cardinals team. So Jose Martinez and Tommy Pham are my 2 favorite plays, but I get playing Ozuna for 3,200. He just keeps being priced so low that DK is just begging you to take him. Minnesota and Kansas City, we've got Kyle Gibson going up against Danny Duffy. Gibson, he should be having some solid performances, but he just really, really hasn't been, and I don't think this is going to be one of them. The Royals just put the ball in play. They're a really bad matchup for strikeouts. So on the road, I will pass on Gibson for the first time in a while. Feels good to be freed from Kyle Gibson. Mike Moustakas is a guy that I really like for 3,800 against Gibson, but not going overboard targeting Royals bats. Danny Duffy for the Royals. This is kind of disgusting, but for 4,000 against the Twins, I really don't mind Duffy on DraftKings. He can be good in some good matchups, as he showed against the Rangers in his last start. He went 7 2/3, and the Twins aren't quite as free swinging as the Rangers, but there are certainly some strikeouts, some lefties in the lineup there. Although I think Kepler's pretty awesome against lefties this year. Rosario, Sano, Buxton at the bottom of the lineup. I mean, I'm glad Sano is back in the lineup for Duffy. I think that's a free K or two, so no problem playing Duffy for 4,000. If he was 6,000, 6,500, which I think he probably should be here, the Twins aren't that great against left-handed pitching, then I wouldn't even consider Duffy. But minimum salary, he doesn't have a pitch count. He's on full rest. It's just hard not to at least consider him. So, Minnesota bats. I do like Kepler, as I mentioned, against Duffy, just hitting lefties very, very well. Hit a home run off Paxton this weekend, which is very impressive. I mean, if I'm playing a bunch of Duffy, which I can see myself doing, I'm probably going to have a couple stacks against him with some Twins, with Kepler and Dozier and Sano, because if Duffy doesn't have it and he's heavily owned, which I think he might be, then the Twins stack is going to be in pretty good shape. 80-degree weather in Kansas City, so super risky spot for Duffy, but I'll have exposure to probably both sides. Giants, Rockies, Coors Field, so no pitchers here. The San Francisco bats that I'm targeting are really the 2, 3, 4. So McCutchen, Posey, and Longoria. I love all these guys, actually. They're one of my favorite mini stacks of the night. I'm not huge into targeting against Kyle Freeland, but 2, 3, 4 is going to be really tough. They did a good job putting the ball in play against Freeland in San Francisco. Like I said, I rarely target heavily against Freeland, but I really want to play 2, 3, and 4 for San Francisco. So That's that. Colorado side, I mean, Jeff Samardzija, 6.07 xFIP on the year. He's going into Coors. Nothing really great to say about him outside of he's done a good job at limiting hard contact. So, the top 4 bats are all firmly in play for me. Blackmon, Arenado, Dahl, Parra, even Trevor Story, the usual suspects for Coors Field and the Rockies side, to be specific. There just isn't that much to say. I mean, it's Coors Field. You know it comes with increased ownership. I think it's a pretty decent matchup on both sides. So the total reflects it. You don't really need me to tell you Coors Field is a solid play. Castillo against Zach Godley, and that is the Reds and Diamondbacks. Castillo, man, he's got some really good numbers lately, just putting together a string of good starts. And I'll talk about him more tomorrow morning, but I think that he's one of the best plays on the slate. He's 8,000. He's going to be owned because he's pitched so well lately. But he's a top 2 option for me, and we will talk more about him tomorrow. But you could probably figure out why he's a top 2 option. Zach Godley, someone that I'm considering. Usually going to know how it's going with Godley within the first inning or two if he has a 25-pitch first inning. It might be time to close DraftKings, close FanDuel, whoever you play him on, and move on to the next slate. If he goes 12 pitches and strikes out 2 guys in the first inning, you're going to be cruising probably for 6-7 innings. He doesn't go super deep, so I like playing him at 8,600 against a Reds team. He's favored. There's some strikeouts in the Reds lineup, so Godley, someone that I like. I don't love him. I'm not all in on him like I have been on some other slates, but lukewarm on Zach Godley. I think he's run into a bunch of tough matchups. So I will say that, even though I feel like I make excuses for him all the time because I just really like him. Tampa Bay and Oakland. Blake Snell, I am all over here with a 10-6 price tag on the road. He's fantastic, man. He did it against Boston when we were on him. And then the A's over the last month have a 27.3% K rate, 245 on base percentage, 124 ISO against left-handed pitching. Snell just has filthy stuff, and Oakland is fanning with the best of them. So I love him. He's one of my top pitchers on the night, up there with Castillo, and you got to pay up for him a little bit, but Snell has been just awesome in some really, really tough matchups. So this is one of the better matchups he's had all season. So I will have a ton of Blake Snell. I'm not sure who's going for Oakland, so we'll pass on that side of it. And the Tampa Bay bats, I don't see myself using them outside of if some gas cans on the mound for Oakland, but I don't even know who it would be. So we'll talk about them tomorrow once we get more clarity on their starting pitcher. Texas and Seattle. Austin Bibbins-Dirks against Felix Hernandez. Bibbins-Dirks had a 15.6% swinging strike rate and almost 40% O-swing percentage against the Royals in his last start. He gave up 4 runs. I think he struck out 6, but I don't hate the idea of playing him just because if you can do that against a Royals team who doesn't strike out, they don't swing and miss that much, then maybe take a chance on him that he's really figured something out in his relief appearances, but I don't expect a similar performance. But I just don't hate the idea of playing Bibbins-Dirks for minimum salary. That's the time to play someone like that where there's a lot of uncertainty. I think I'd rather go with the punt price for Duffy at home. Unless Duffy's getting super chalky, then I'll have to dig into some Bibbins-Dirks a little bit more. Felix Hernandez on the other side is not the worst option. He always pitches better at home. I think he's even given voice to that. He's going up against one of my favorite teams to target, so Felix will be a guy that I'll mix in a little bit if I have 10 or 20 lineups. Not someone that I'm going all in on. Definitely not someone I'm going all in on. He doesn't have great strikeout stuff, but Texas does help you with that if you don't have great stuff, as we've seen time and time again. Philadelphia and LA, the Dodgers. So Arrieta against Kenton Maeda. Kenta, not Kenton. Kenta Maeda. Need to say his name right because I really want to play him tonight. He's 10-8 on DraftKings, so I love him here. Him and Snell. I'll try to fit those two guys in a bunch of lineups together if I can. I think Maeda has one of the best matchups on the night for righty against the Phillies. I don't think he's going to be super chalky. Maybe if that run total drops a little more. I'm seeing it at 3.3 right now. He'll get some ownership for sure, but I don't even know if he'll be the most owned pitcher of the night. He's just elite against righties, and the Phillies will have 4, 5, maybe 6 of them. Plus, he's been really good against lefties, too, like almost 30% strikeout rate. And then you got lefties in there like Nick Williams. He's a guy that'll swing and miss a ton. So, yeah, there are some concerning bats. You know, Rhys Hoskins, Carlos Santana, Herrera. Like, these guys can get to Maeda, but the rest of them, I think he's going to have the advantage against almost every hitter in this lineup. So for 10-8, I will gladly play someone like Maeda. Arrieta is not a guy I have interest in. I can't really figure him out. His swing and miss stuff is either there, like he does it in tough matchups, like against the Braves last start, or he just doesn't have it at all, and he posts like a 2% swinging strike rate. I think he's posted a 3% 2 starts ago. He's just seems like he's all over the place. I'm kind of sick of trying to figure it out with him. And I don't think the matchup is anything better than neutral against the Dodgers. So I will be off Arrieta for 7,500. The Dodgers bats I like a little bit. Grandal, Justin Turner, and Cody Bellinger. Miami and San Diego, last game of the night, and very uninteresting one. I mean, I can make a case for Tyson Ross, but he's 9,200, so you probably don't want to hear me talk about Tyson Ross. Anyways, you know, it's just, this is a very uninteresting game. Straley is somewhat interesting against the Padres for 6,300, but I just don't really think I'll get to him. This game, again, is 2 bad teams with pitchers that I'm not very comfortable playing. So Josh and I will discuss this game a little bit tomorrow, but for the most part, kind of an avoid for me right now. All right, so that does it for the 14-game slate. Get to osmo.com. Check out our premium packages. Check out our free stuff, the Spotlight Hitters, Pitchers, and Stacks, which we will have up tomorrow. The MLB strategy video will be tomorrow. And then me and Chris Spags on the live stream before lock tomorrow night, starting at 6 Eastern. Should be a good day of DFS. Hope this got you started with your research for Tuesday. Good luck, guys.